Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Euge from Cyhra to talk about, not Cyhra or not about your other projects that you're working on, maybe a little bit about your solo stuff, but to talk about you and the 5 guitarists that influence you the most. How's it going?
Oh, good. As I just told you, I'm mixing my second solo album. This will be first commercial release that I will do everything by myself. So I finished the recordings yesterday and I was supposed to let my ears rest a bit, but I couldn't help myself. And I started to mix yesterday evening. And the first song took a while, like it usually does, you know, until I found everything. And now I've been, you know, today I've done 4 songs, so five to go. And it will be all instrumental album. And I'm really looking forward to people to hear that, because there's a lot of guitars.
Do you have a date in mind for when you want to release it, or it's just like whenever you feel like it's ready, it's ready?
Yes, when it's ready, then, because I will release it via my own label, 230 volts, because Valovirta, my last name means lightning power. So in the States, it will be 110. But the distribution will be taken care of by a DistroKid, this digital distribution service. So they have certain lead times, and I mean, I need to come up with the cover, whatever, some kind of plan, but one step at a time. So now I'm gonna mix it, and then I think I'm gonna master it also, because I've been studying, well, I've been studying music and stuff for the last 30 years, but especially now during COVID, I've really studied and actually practiced, you know, mixing, mastering for my YouTube videos and stuff. So I'm gonna at least give it a try, and if I'm happy, then okay. If not, then I, you know, let someone who actually knows what he's doing.
Bring in a little bit of a professional touch.
Yeah, but it's I mean, nowadays it's so like, because everything is on YouTube. I mean, I learned how to use Final Cut, how to make YouTube videos, everything, how to mix, how to whatever, compress, but just by checking, you know, how to YouTube videos, like, oh, okay, or interviews. Like yesterday, I had a little bit of a problem with drum sound, kick sound, and I checked some Bob Rock, one of my all-time favorite producers. Like he, you know, he showed like how it's done. I was, okay, and then I did it. And
it's great.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, you know, like now with everything is at your fingertips. You can just, I do the same thing. Every time I'm stuck on something that I'm not quite sure what to do, I just go on YouTube and I look for a guide on how to fix that problem, whatever the problem is. There's a video for everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you look my YouTube or Google searches, there's lots of how to make a massive kick drum sound. So it's great. I mean, wonderful.
Before we get started with your 5 most influential guitar players, let's go back a little bit into your history and how everything got started. How old were you when you picked up your first guitar?
89, so I was 13. I have a tattoo here. It's in Latin. Non omnes gut citra ram haben, citra hoidi sunt. It means not everyone who has a guitar are guitarists.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
So anyway, yeah, I'm 89. I mean, I started with drums, but and I practiced like half a year at my school. Our music teacher, a nice lady, teach me basic things, and then I had my own like practice hours there. Then with my parents, they refused to buy me a drum kit, because back in 80s there wasn't such thing as or maybe there was electronic drums, but anyways, they were like, no, pick some other instrument if you want to play, because I was a hockey player then. That was my, I mean, I played on the national level in Finland until I was 20. I still play, so I would just, you know, wanted to have some other hobby. So then our music teacher, she said to me that, hey, why don't you try guitar? I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And she taught me a few chords, and she said that, well, yeah, that seemed to come pretty naturally. So she gave me my first lessons, Creedence Clearwater, or whatever it goes, but Bad Moon Rising, that kind of stuff. And then that's where it started, and then came James Hetfield.
I was going to say, I'm sure your parents were a lot happier with you showing up with a guitar than a drum kit.
Yes, and actually they bought it. It's my first guitar was this cheap Landola. It's a Finnish brand, like nylon string acoustic. I still have it, or actually it's my friend's kid has it, I think. But anyway, and then because I wanted to have an electric guitar, but they said that, well, start with that, and if after 6 months you still think that you want to play, then we get you an electric guitar. And then 6 months later, they bought me this Area Pro 2. It was kind of like Jackson soloist copy, Scott Ian, that black, and Bass HM2 heavy metal pedal. I still have that pedal.
Wow. And once you started that process of playing guitar and becoming more familiar with the instrument, was it clear for you that this was going to be something that was going to be part of your life going forward, that perhaps one day you could become an actual musician and not just being jamming in your house?
Well, I didn't really think about that, because I just it fascinated me, music, because I've ever since my first memories of music is when my uncle played me Bruce Springsteen. Springsteen is still that's Springsteen, and then there's everything else, because my first memories and all my life, all the good and the bad, everything is related to Springsteen. It's like it's the soundtrack of my life. Anyway, but I was like, man, it would be nice to actually play some of that stuff, drums, bass, whatever, and then I enjoyed it. Like I said, hockey was my like first passion, and those 3 letters NHL, I was like, yeah. But then, I mean, my back's been operated a couple of times, my shoulders. Then kind of, around 20s, when I was starting to be like pretty okay. I played bands since 15. Obviously we wanted to play shows and show girls what we got. So
I get it. That's the important stuff.
Yeah, and then I went to the army, and because in Finland it's mandatory, but I actually ended up working there as a rookie trainer for a couple of years. And when that ended, my kind of like mentor, Petteri Hirvonen, this Finnish guy who produced God's Plague, my first band's first 2 albums, he said that, man, you really should, like, you have talent. Why let me give you lessons, and let's make you like really, really a good guitar player. Because I was like, okay. And then so 2021, then I started to take like really lessons and really practice, like, and read about theory and everything, and really dwell into the whole thing. So it's kind of late, because I mean I started 13, but basically the first 7 or 8 years I just played at home, occasional gigs with bands, but I didn't have any, like, I didn't think about like whether this would, I just like to play guitar.
Yeah, just having fun.
Yeah, it was just because I think that's the most important thing, because many of my friends, many started to play guitar, and then when we didn't became rock stars when we were 18, then they quit. But I was like, they were like, you still play? Yeah. Why? I love it.
It's just fun. For you, it's just fun. You not necessarily felt like, you were not reaching your goals, because probably at that time you didn't have those goals.
No, my goals were on ice hockey then. So but then when it became apparent that
you're not going to be the next Teemu Salani.
Yeah. Then I thought, well, maybe I will take a shot with music, because I seem to be pretty good at it too, even though I really didn't, you know, pay that much. Well, yeah, I practiced a lot of stuff, but really it was kind of like I just enjoyed it, and that was all.
And this takes us to the first name on your list, which is none other than James Hetfield. Now, before I ask you about this, let me just say this to you. Like, I've had a lot of guitar players on the channel to talk about their influences. I think every single one of them has named James Hetfield as one of their biggest influences. To me, as a fan of Metallica, as a fan of heavy music, when I think of Metallica and I think of guitar players, I think of Kirk Hammett. I don't really associate James Hetfield into that picture. And I find it really interesting that all of you guys that actually know what the hell you're doing, not me, you, actually go with James Hetfield. So what was it to you that James became such an important person to influence your style and your sound?
Well, it's because I mean, I'm that age that because I was born in '76, so I remember kind of when Metallica. I mean, Kill 'Em All, I kind of went, but then when Ride the Lightning came, they were in Finland touring. I was still a little kid, like 6 or 7, so I couldn't attend, but I was aware that this band from America played this new kind of music called thrash or speed, or whatever. It was new then. You know, they're faster than Motorhead, like so. And then when I started to play guitar, because first I learned the basic, you know, songs that everybody
learns that song first.
Yeah, that was the first riff. And Creedence Clearwater and basic rock, but then I started to like, because I really like Metallica, the riffs. I mean, I wasn't into like lead playing because that was just so far, but the riff stuff I could like understand, and I remember probably one of the first was this. Sorry, wrong tuning.
Well, you have so many guitars, and I'm sure you can find one.
Well, welcome home. So that was like on my guitar side, because I've been messing around with a couple of tunings here, but yeah. That was probably the first, and they sounded so good, and they were kind of easy to play, like one. Because I had the Landola acoustic, so I literally learned everything, all the Metallica acoustic parts, like, because they were so cool. And then when I got the electric, you know, the riffs, such great riffs. I mean, still to this day, my warm-up routine, I think I haven't played a show, because I played over 2,000 shows, and I always, the final thing I play before I go on stage, I play Master of Puppets. If I can downpick that like Hetfield on that tempo and even faster, then I know I'm good to go. Because Hetfield is I learned to everything. Many people, like Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath, a little bit older people, he's like the guy. But to me, it's Hetfield. The riffs, you know, the looks. I mean, how cool is, you know, guitar low, and you know, it was such a cool guy, and still is. And the sound, everything, it was just like, yeah, I want to be like that guy. And I only played the riffs. I mean, yeah, Hammett is, but it was like two. I didn't understand it at the time, but yeah, Hetfield is such a great sound, such a cool guy, voice, songwriter, the riffs, the sound. Yeah, to me, he is like Tony Iommi, probably to generation.
Yeah, the older generation. I mean, the impressive thing also about him is that he's singing at the same time that he's playing. You know what I mean? It's crazy when you think about that. Like, and like you said, I love the style with the guitar like super low.
Yeah.
It's just badass.
Yeah, exactly. It's badass, and yeah, the singing is. I mean, some of those older riffs, they're like really fast. And Master of Puppets, there's kind of like there's 4/4, then there's 2/4. There's like time signature changes, and he just flawlessly picks and plays and it was like that's the coolest guy ever.
I have to agree with you. Like even with age, as he's gotten older, he's still cool. Like he's like a fine wine.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter. The guy is just pure coolness.
He is.
So the next name on your list you have is Randy Rhoads. So
yes,
how did the transition happen? So you discovered Metallica, you discovered James Hetfield, then Randy Rhoads.
Like I said, I was into riffs, rhythm playing. I wasn't interested in leads. It was just like wiggly to me, like whatever. But I like the riffs, the heaviness, to play songs. When you play, I mean, everybody can, if you practice, play scales, back and forth, but to play songs, and Hetfield inspired me to write my own songs. So from the very beginning, I came up with my own songs, and I actually found it on my warehouse, some notes that I've done, like early 90s. Like I was like, man, I think I gotta make this out of a song or something. Anyway, then my friend, one of my friends, he was a little bit better player than me, so we kind of jammed together, and then he was like, well, why don't you, you don't like to play solo, so you're not interested. But nah, I like riffs. And then he gave me a Ozzy Osbourne tribute tablature book. Here's this, go and buy the vinyl. Was vinyls then, no internet.
No YouTube.
The CDs, maybe I didn't have a CD player. So okay, I went and I saved money and bought the vinyl LP, and then went home. Coach, goosebumps, because I remember the first time when I Mr. Crowley, it was like yeah. He was the first like lead guitar player that I really understood, or I didn't understood, but because those solos, they're like songs within a song, It was like, fuck man, I want to learn that. And I learned those. And my mom, still to this day, she says that she knows a few Ozzy Osbourne songs, and whenever she hears Mr. Crowley, it reminds her me being a kid trying to, but eventually I learned that, and I played that live many times, and I actually gave a guitar lesson. I give guitar lessons via Skype every now and then. One guy wanted to learn that, and I teach him those two solos. They are Mr. Crowley's solos. They're best solos ever. So that was like Randy Rhoads, because it's melodic, it's technical, they're songs within a song, basically. It was so like, wow, man. So that's why Randy Rhoads, because he was the first player that I really liked what he did.
The solos were not just there. The solo, it added something to the song. It was an extension of the song. And they were so well placed, so well executed on that track that they almost don't feel like a solo. They just feel.
No, it's almost like chorus, because the song doesn't really have a chorus. Because Mr. Crowley, it's just that, and then comes a solo, like and it goes Mr. Crowley, and then solo,
Yeah, so they kind of work like that. They work a little bit like a chorus, like you're saying. I agree.
Yeah. So, and the tribute album and everything. I mean, I wonder. I mean, I have here is Randy Rhoads, Ozzy Osbourne, the cover of the tribute album. So, yeah,
That's
Randy.
That's impressive. Moving into number 3 on your list, you have Eddie Van Halen. A lot of guitar players have Eddie on their list. What was it about? What was it about Eddie?
Well, I knew Van Halen. Like I think I was 8 or 7 when 1984 came. You know, Jump. That's when the band got really big in Europe as well. So I got that album, and I loved the songs and stuff. And there were a couple of my friends were playing at that time. I wasn't, and they were, you know, discussing guitar player style. And I always wondered that how can they, you know, tell who's playing what and what, because I don't really like. But the only guy then that I kind of recognized was Eddie. You know, those, it was like, oh, that's Eddie, even though I didn't play and stuff. So then when I had discovered Randy and obviously read interviews and stuff, and then, you know, Eddie was his idol. They were about the same age, and then I kind of went back to Van Halen, because I had been listening Van Halen, but never really tried to play or like that year. Okay, what's happening? And then when I first started to practice, I mean, obviously it was really hard, because I mean, Metallica is kind of basic, like, because Van Halen is like, there's so much going on. I was like, wow. But eventually I learned. I mean, I still have the notebooks for probably 4 or 5 Van Halen albums, and I learned everything, like, kind of like, and I mean, yeah, so totally different than Randy, because Randy's solos were kind of worked out like compositional pieces, but Eddie was kind of like just wailing rock and roll all over, going with the feel, which I love too, because I also play with a lot of feel and improvise, but some stuff I compose like Randy. So yeah, Eddie and Van Halen's been that's one of the bands that, like Springsteen and Van Halen, is that I've been a fan ever since I was like a little kid. So huge inspiration. I mean, I have a
oh, I was gonna say, you must have it.
Yeah, great guitar. I mean, I used this on there's 2 songs from my forthcoming solo album. One of them is called Pasadena 1978. Van Halen's from Pasadena 78, the first album. And then the other song that I used, this was a lot of whammy, is called Scary Frankie. Scary comes from George Lynch, and Frankie is this. So, and I have Eddie's picture here and stuff. So yeah.
So with those last 2 names, with Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen, when you look at them, like you said earlier, Metallica is a little bit simpler. Let's put it that way. When you get into these 2 guys, they have different approaches, but both of them start to really push that bar to a much higher level. At any point in time, did you feel like, man, it doesn't matter how much I practice this thing, I still feel like I'm falling behind, like I'm not reaching that plateau?
Every day. Yes, yeah, definitely. Because Metallica was, most of Metallica's songs go in E, low E, chaga chaga, basic 5 power chords. But all this stuff is a little bit more complex, and then Van Halen was totally. But that's the beauty of music and guitar, because I mean, I still practice and try to learn something new every day, because it's kind of like a play, like children's play in a way to me. Like I've learned how to play bluegrass and banjo and whatever, just for the fun of it, because it's it's like a
for you it's like
so yeah, I didn't I wasn't frustrated. I was just like excited that, man. And back then, you know, no internet, nothing. You kind of had to figure things out by yourself. There were some like notebooks or tablets or books that, you know, some guy bought, and then we borrowed them and copied them and stuff. But it was mostly just figuring out things by yourself, you know, with the vinyl player or cassette player, and I guess that's really, you develop better ear and stuff that way. But yeah, it was definitely hard, really hard at first. But then when I suddenly I realized that, hey, I can play this. Wow.
Then it opened the Pandora's box for you.
Yeah. Kind of.
The next name on your list is Slash. Now, before I ask you about Slash, let me tell you something. The first time I saw you play live, well, as actually the only time I've seen you play live, was during the North American tour with Cyhra and Sabaton that you guys did. Was it 2017? Was it 2017, 2018?
I think early 18.
Yeah, early 18. I think it was March of 2018. Because I remember was my birthday month, and I was really excited about going to see that tour. So I saw you coming on stage, and I had heard Cyhra before, but I had never seen you guys perform. So I see you guys coming on stage, and I'm looking at you playing, and I'm like, wow, man, this dude kind of reminds me of Slash. The way you move on stage, the way you groove with the guitar, I was like, that's like a lot of Slash in there. And I loved it because it felt to me like you were moving with the sound of the music. You're playing, but you're enjoying what you're doing. You're grooving it at the same time. And not a lot of guitar players do that. And the only one that I can really think of is Slash, that he does that quite a bit. And when I saw you, I was like, wow, here we go. We have a new Slash.
Well, yeah, I mean,
so were you inspired by his guitar playing, or were you inspired by his dance moves?
Well, first guitar playing, but then, you know, obviously he's a nice looking fella and has great moves, and, you know, so anyway, the thing with Slash, because it was 87 when Appetite came out, and but, you know, it took a couple of years, and I think when User Illusion albums, like early 90s, when they came out, then the band like exploded. Yeah. Like in Finland, in Europe, or at least when we were, you know, kids, like aware, and I remember that he was, you know, coolest looking dude. I mean, how cool is that? You know, Les Paul, you know, shooting from the hip, you know, and
yeah. With a big tall hat, with a top hat on, and
yeah. So when I started to play guitar, my dream was like to have a Les Paul, kind of like Slash, but obviously couldn't afford. I played many years with cheaper guitars, and then when I finally got one, I remember thinking that, what if I don't like this? Because it looks so cool. Because I had played with, like, you know, Strats and stuff, cheaper guitars, but I wanted to love Les Paul, and thank God I loved it. I mean, my signature ESP, you know, it's a Les Paul. So that when I got that guitar, that was like, yeah, it felt natural. I felt relieved that, yeah, I like the guitar. Now I need to practice so I can play it as low as Slash. And I practice playing like this. And nowadays it's hard for me to play like this because it's so natural. I need to have my arms. So I did that. And regarding but yeah, Slash was, and again, songs within a song, his solos, you know, November Rain, Sweet Child, Paradise, you name it, fantastic solos, and the moves. I mean, I play with a, you know, feel, with a heart. I don't really think so. I'm kind of because I'm having fun on the stage. So obviously you're playing your songs you have written and you obviously like them. And then when you see, oh, other people are liking too, man, this is fun. You know, although it's kind of like metal and it's, I don't know, supposed to be, you know, I mean, I played in Shining, you know, extreme black metal, whatever, but I always was like, sometimes I get a bad eye, like, hey, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm supposed to be mean, you know.
Yeah. So I'm just having fun and kind of like, because it's about getting the groove and listening to other people. I mean, we play with a click track, yes, because we have keyboards coming from, but it's still like, I mean, I don't listen to that, but I just want to feel because it's, you know, when you hear a good song, you
You move.
you wanna move. Then that happens to me when I'm playing.
I just thought it was so cool because it's not something that you see every day at a metal show or a rock show. There's not many guys that do that. So
I guess so. Yeah, because
yeah, so
I've gotten a lot of
I thought of Slash right away.
for that. Man, you know, because the thing is, because if you have two guitar players and one of them moves a lot, do all kinds of crazy stuff, and the other is playing perfectly like this. If you ask the audience who is a better guitar player, that's the guy who does the
Exactly.
You know, even though his playing could be like total. I mean, I've sometimes listened to some of our live shows. I'm like, oh, dude, maybe I gotta dance a little bit less. Maybe I should focus on the playing actually a bit more. But I mean, live show. If you want to hear perfect playing, everything, you know, stay home, listen to the albums. If you want to go experience a show, come to see the band live. And
I agree 100%. I think that's what I don't want to go to a live show and listen to a band sound exactly like the record. If I want to listen to the record, I listen to the record at home.
yeah,
When I come to the live show, I want to see a show. I don't mind mistakes. I don't mind like little things. I don't care. That's whole part of the whole essence of being there and experiencing that moment.
exactly. So I agree. And I mean, I haven't really, when I go there, I don't think about it. I kind of put out a show. I'm just having a great time. So
It shows. It shows. I was like, you know, I was really focused on you for the whole performance because it's like, wow, man, the dude is really grooving. You know, like it's like makes me want to groove too. Like this is really cool. Like I said, growing up with Slash, we're about the same age, so we grew up in the same era. I grew up in Portugal, so I grew up in Europe. And I agree with you 100% that Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, when they came out in that early 90s, they blew up in Europe. They became like such a huge band at that time. Yeah. And so I always associate that style, that grooviness to him, because at that time, things were very rigid, right? Like if you were watching a band play like Cannibal Corpse or whatever, everybody was just mean faced, playing like really heavy. Nobody was like, you know, grooving, you know what I mean? But he was. So when I saw you, I was like, wow, this guy is Slash.
And other guy who smiles, grooves, dances, Eddie Van Halen.
No,
have you ever seen Eddie Van Halen not smiling when he has a guitar?
Like super serious.
Like, because it's, I mean, that what happens to me. Oh, guitar.
My face lights up the same when I see hamburgers. So for it's
well,
and a nice hamburger and a cold beer on a summer day, my face lights up. I also dance. I start dancing.
Good.
The last name on your list.
People should dance more and fight less. You know,
I agree with you. I think that's the only way we can get out of all the predicaments that we're in. Dancing more, listening to more music, and fighting less. You know what I mean? Like that. That's the way. That's the way of the future. The last name on your list, Zakk Wylde. Man, I saw him live before the pandemic hit, and I was right at the front. The guy is a show inside of the show, inside of the show. He's like a Russian doll. You know what I mean? Like you keep taking dolls and there's more dolls inside. How did you discover Zakk Wylde?
Well, this is actually funny because at least in Finland, many people call me like Lil Zakk, or because I had this crazy train, Ozzy Osbourne tribute band. We played a lot of, you know, shows and I play very similarly, but I discovered Zakk when No More Tears came out, because I kind of remember when No Rest for the Wicked came, but I was still like Randy. I completely missed Jakey Lee back then. Lately, I've done a couple of videos and great player, but I was so like, no, it's Randy, and
that's it.
That's it. And then, because I was doing kind of like, I had listened to Alvin Lee, Frank Marino. They were doing this fast pentatonic stuff, and Billy Gibbons did this pinch thing, and I liked those, and I kind of was incorporating that. And then one of my friends said that, hey, have you checked this Zakk Wylde guy? You play a little bit similarly, but not so good, because I was, played probably 4 or 5 years. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I've heard him. He's Randy Rhoads clone. He said, no, he's doing that pentatonic stuff, those pinches, what you do. I was like, oh, really? I went and bought the No More Tears album. I was like, holy fuck, this is exactly what I have in my mind, what I would like to do, but I can't do it. Because I was, whenever that came out, early 90s also, so I had played only
92, I think.
Yeah, I had played like 3 or 4 years, were really beginner, but I kind of had this feeling that Les Paul, and I wanna and that was like, again, those moments, like when I heard Randy Rhoads, Zakk Wylde, that no more cheers. That's basically that's Frank Marino lick, but it was like the album, and he's playing on that album. It was exactly what I was trying to do, but I wasn't nearly as it was just like I was very far. But then I learned everything from that, and obviously went and bought No Rest for the Wicked. I was like, oh, why didn't nobody tell me? This guy is great. That's all that stuff. So yeah, obviously some of his playing, because no matter how original you're trying to be, or I'm not even trying to be, I'm just playing what I like and feel and love. But obviously your influences, like Zakk, Randy, John Sykes, one of my biggest. So all those come together. But that was one of those moments. Still remember, hearing Bruce Springsteen, hearing Metallica, hearing Mr. Crowley first time, hearing No More Tears first time. Those like life-defining moments, or I don't know, but they're so kind of like, yeah, huge stuff. And I met Zakk 2005 when he was touring with Black Label Society in Helsinki, in Finland, and my friend was a journalist who interviewed Zakk, and then he asked that, hey, I have this friend who's a big fan of yours, and it's kind of like local you, because people call me like Little Zakk or whatever. And yeah, bring him in. So I had this guitar with me, my old Tokai, which my signature ESPs are based off, and I had this, and I was like, shaking, young kid, whatever, 20 or something, a little bit older, but and then he was the coolest guy ever. We ended up talking like 3 or 4 hours, drinking beer. He played with this guitar, showed me some licks. I was like, dude, because and his wife came, Barbara, and hey, Zakk, you gotta, sleep. You have a show. And no, I'm hanging with these, So we were in the hotel lobby, and I was like, is this like happening? I mean, I'm here sitting, drinking beer and playing guitar with Zakk Wylde. Like, like, and then, well, eventually he had a show to do. He went to take a rest, and I went to my friend's tattoo shop, and he tattooed that, and they still the Zakk's signature on this guitar, even though I played this God knows how many shows and tours, but it's still there. So that was like, because sometimes you met your idols or stuff, and then it's always I mean, I haven't experienced, but it would be a disappointment if they turn out to be like assholes. But he was I was like, if I'm ever gonna be a like touring rock musician, I want to be like that guy, like he laughed at himself. He didn't check. He was like a little kid like me. And then they played the show, and my friend had a video camera, and he filmed it. And then the security guys came, like ripped the camera off. Zakk, stop the show. Hey, and he said, my guys, let them film. Like,
That was super cool.
That was like, he was, hey, they're my guys. Yeah, we're good to go. Let them film. Okay. So that was like, and same venue, Pride and Glory. That was the first time I saw Zakk. I had just turned 18. I guess that Helsinki show, it's in internet, almost on YouTube, the show. And there's a skinny, blonde-haired guy in front of Zakk like this, the whole show. That's me.
I love that. That's amazing.
And that was, I mean, I remember, Marshall's Les Paul. It was so fucking loud that my ears probably ringed like a week after, and they play like 3.5 hours. When the show ended, because in Finland on summertime, the sun doesn't really go down, or only a few hours a night. So when the show ended, it was like 4 a.m. something. Sun was shining. We were like, just like, what the fuck just happened? Zakk Wylde played like 3.5 hours. All my brothers, Lynyrd Skynyrd, ZZ Top, Frank Marino, all my like 10 years after, like those bands and players that I grew up with. So yeah, Zakk Wylde.
Well, I have a story to add to your story, which is about the No More Tears album. So when the album came out, I didn't have a vinyl player. My brother did. I only had the cassette tape and a CD player. So my friend bought the vinyl, and I borrowed it, and I took it to my brother's house so that he could record it on tape for me. But my brother doesn't listen to heavy metal. So he recorded on the tape, and he gave me the tape. So I go home, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to listen to the new album. I put it on, and it sounded like I was listening to King Diamond. It was so fast. And I'm like, this can't be it. Like, there's no way this doesn't sound like Ozzy at all. Like, what happened here? So then I go back to his house. It's like, dude, what did you do to that recording? Then he checked the vinyl, and he had it on the wrong rotations. So he recorded the whole thing sped up. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me, dude? Now I have to wait a whole nother like hour for him to record, because it's not like you can fast record it. You have to play the vinyl and record it at the same time.
Yeah, we did that too. Someone bought the vinyl, and then we, with cassettes and
yeah. So that album, every time I listen to any song on that album, I think of that story of how my brother recorded the vinyl on the wrong rotations, and it sounded like King Diamond. That stuff doesn't happen now,
No. I mean, younger kids that probably doesn't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
Tape? What's the connection with tape and the pen?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just one of those things that sticks with you. I mean, your story is definitely better. But I think mine is funnier. So let's just go with that. Wow, this is an incredible 5 list. So the last question that I have for you is, if you put these 5 guys together, or if you break them apart, regardless of how you want to look at it, which one of them is more present in you, in your style, and how you play?
I guess it's probably Wylde. I mean, I'm a big guy. I play with a heavy hand. I play with Les Paul, Marshall JCM 800s. I have quite a few.
Wow.
Zakk Wylde signature, only 600 made in the world.
Nice.
So I think probably Wylde, because I played a lot of cover shows and stuff, and I've done like in the style of videos and how to play videos on my YouTube channel, and I've done a few videos of Zakk, but when I do videos about Zakk, I don't have to think how to play like him. I just play like me. It's like
yeah.
A little bit same than with John Sykes, who's one of my favorite players. But I mean, Eddie, you don't probably hear. I mean, on the new solo album, there will be some tapping stuff, because they've been quite surprised that I love Eddie so much, because it doesn't come that much of my playing. But and Randy too, and yeah. So I mean, Slash also. There's at least one solo on Cyhra's No Halos in Hell. That's many people have said that, man, that sounds like Slash, and it was I remember the song, but I remember that I wasn't supposed to play the solo. I was just noodling, and I hit my wah, was in the studio, and just played like kind of like Slash, and the producer was like, "Yeah, we have a keeper." I was like, I was just like, no. So, but that was a long answer. Short answer is Zakk Wylde.
Zakk Wylde. All right, perfect. On that note, I want to thank you very much for taking the time today to take me through this journey. It was such a fun conversation to have with you. I had such a blast, and I want to thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure, and anytime, man. It's I enjoy this. I enjoyed this too a lot.
Next time I see you live, next time I see you live, you're gonna dance on stage and I'm gonna dance in the crowd.
That's a deal. And after the show, we're gonna dance together.
and we're gonna put it on your YouTube channel.
You know the saying, what happens in the tour bus stays in the tour bus.
We'll definitely have to do that. Once again, thank you very much for your time, and all the best. And I hope to see you on the road soon.
Me too. It's been too long. We just announced the European tour, so let's hope that will happen. And I guess if I've understood correct, there is plans to come back to North America, hopefully sooner than later. But we'll see how this whole situation in the world develops.
I'll shine up my dancing shoes. I'll be ready.
Good.
See you. Take care, man.
Take care.